Good morning. This is Secret Scuffed coming at you live with Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Now, I played this game quite some years ago, back on the DS. Not when it came out, of course. I got it quite a bit after that. And although I remember this first trial quite clearly, I cannot say the same for the rest. So I'm quite excited to do this with all of you, and I will be voicing all of it, or at least I'll be trying to. Well, let's just sit back and watch this opening animation first. Be quiet for a bit. I realize I probably should have voiced that, but it's fine. I have things I wanted to say. So, I don't remember anything of the other two games. In fact, I don't even think I played the last one. But I did play this one. I enjoyed it. I am quite saddened by the fact that this does not allow me to shout objection into a microphone in order to perform my objections and take that's like the original. But that's just fine. And when you look at that, I already need a drink of water. Oh my. This screen looks like it was taken straight from the DS. Look at those beautiful pointy edges. Well, let's hop right into it, shall we? Panicked. Palms sweaty. I can admit it, I'm nervous. Ah, good morning. Good morning, sir. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No! I'm loose, I'm fine. That screeching noise, is that your voice? I suppose it's to be expected. Your first trial, and it's a homicide. I guess justice doesn't start small, eh? Still getting to the hang of this, so expect a few slip-ups. I'm fine. I got about 5 a.m. to do my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine. Ah, that explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality to your screech. I overdid it again. As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift gotten, sir. I'm all over that drift. All over it. As it happens, I dined with him on the night of the murder. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much. People might take you the wrong way. Can you guys hear that if I do this? Oh, just a little bit. I'll try and get a... Oh, yep. Let's see how... if I can get an audible gulp out of this mic. Oh, yeah, that works. Don't worry, I won't do that to you guys again. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. You know, I'm probably going to give a very similar voice to Mr. Wright when we get to him. Don't have much range, as we shall put it. My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney, and I'm getting the anime voice. and today is my first trial. No, not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, but of course. And so do I. There's one of those slip-ups, of course. Don't worry, we'll work out of it. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him, no way. I feel like I really gotta practice to get a raspy voice. Ironic, considering how poor my voice has been throughout all of these. Finally starts picking up, and now I can't really do it all that well. Whoa! Good, morning, sir. Morning. It's all up to you today. First trial. Nervous. Meeting him. Cardiac arrest. I think I'm supposed to say something. Help? So, you're, Fine, I'm fine. Ah, Mr. Fine, is it? I didn't remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me? Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney, and he's your friend, so why? You'll see. No, we'll just play this out. We'll play this out. You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you. It's time, shall we? Yes, sir. Okay, I need to focus. First trial, here comes justice. That was a terrible delivery on my part. Aha, our old friend Mr. Payne. Okay, what voice should we give the judge? The court is... No, that's not... No. Let's see. The court... No. That's not it. Let's see. I want a deeper voice for him. Let's... I realize now that I don't really do deep voices, huh? Here, give me 1 minute to think about this. You know what? I've decided this guy's going to be sticking with us for a while. I think I'll just give him my voice. The court is now in... No, that's not good. You know what? I tried to, like, skip out on doing a voice for this guy. It just feels wrong. How do we tackle this? Old men. It's hard, because I always... Whenever I think of old man characters, I always think of the cool ones, because those are the ones I like most. The cool ones, the wise ones. This one, on the other hand, is neither cool or wise. He is an idiot. And he is remarked as such by several characters, as I recall. Not in this game particularly, but in the others, where Edgeworth is present. So how do I give a dumb old man voice? The court is now in session. Oh, that could work. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Yeah, you know what? That works for Payne. He's only going to be around for one chapter. The defense is fine. I mean, ready, Your Honor. Sir. Mind going blank. Don't panic. Too late. Your name was Mr. Justice, and this is your first trial? Yes, Your Honor. But I'm fine, really. Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strained. Mr. Gavin? Yes, Your Honor? I already forgot what voice I gave him. I think I just gave him like a standard voice, just toned down a bit. Yes, Your Honor? That's it. I was under the impression that you would be heading up this case. That was my intention, yes. However, the defense attorney must always cede to his client's wishes, and my client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Well, of course he wants justice, but to entrust his case to this greenhorn, why? I do not exaggerate when I say that you are the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience, fine, but does he have Chords of Steel? I'm a bit disappointed with my delivery on that. Maybe I'll work on my raspy voice a bit more later. Then, let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. You know, I really like... No, not like. What's a word for it? I'd like to give the judge a voice, like I'm doing right now, where it's very clearly a voice. Similar to what I'm doing with Apollo, but in the opposite direction. Because Apollo, he has the anime voice, right? Like, that's the thing that comes straight out of 4Kids in the early... early 2000s 4Kids. But, you know, he's the protagonist. He's young and spry and nervous, and I think that fits him. And the judge, I want him to be opposite. I want him to be the worst obvious doing a voice, where it's goofy sounding. That's a vibe. That word really fits him. Anyway, let's get back to it. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm so sorry we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? These days, I'm merely Phoenix Wright, piano player. Mr. Wright, how could this have happened? I won't speak of it further, then. If the prosecution would be so kind as to explain the charges, Mr. Payne? To think you enter this room a fresh attorney, and now you leave in chains. Oh man, I'm even doing his hand motions in real life, eh? Ah, Winston Payne. Subtle as ever, I see. And I've already forgotten the voice I gave the Phoenix as well. Ahem. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl Club. I don't think Payne would be able to pronounce that, but you know, it's fine. A Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him, wham, on the head, smack, killed him cold. A customer at the restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was the pianist for the club, it seems. Phoenix Wright. A pianist? This is the weapon that took the victim's life. A bottle of grape juice. Grape juice is apparently the defendant's drink of choice. The court accepts the deadly bottle as evidence. Oh, I should check the court record. Let's do that. Okay, we got, of course, our perfect little badge. I don't think we'll be showing it to everyone. I think, at this point, the jokes run a bit old with me. But, you know, if we do the other games in the future, which I'm certain we will, we'll do it there. Of course, so we got our autopsy report. Shady Smith. Unknown age, male. And blunt force trauma to the head. Okay. We got our image. Black and white. No necklace. Cards indeterminate color and indeterminate hand. Based on image at least. Juice bottle. Empty. Capped. With a screw cap, it looks like. Nothing of note on it, unless we can get fingerprints, but I don't think that happens in this trial. I think that's the next one, maybe. And how about our people? Christoph Gavin, Phoenix Wright. Oh, Gavin's younger. Did not realize that. Smith, of course, with necklace in photo. And Payne. Oh, dang, Payne is really old. How the heck did he grow out that hair? Well, you know, I think that's incredibly impressive. What he has going here. It looks terrible, of course, but, like, I would be in awe if I saw this. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed in the court record. Yes, we just checked that. Make a practice of checking it frequently. The court record? Oh, the court record! Right, I've heard of that. We won't voice the fourth wall breaks. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Right. Sounds like it's time for some hands-on action. So, the victim was a customer at this restaurant. But just who was this, shady Smith fellow? We believe he was a traveler, Your Honor. A traveler? According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, though his place of residence is unclear. And he had some sort of connection with the defendants? That, too, is unclear at the present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime. If they had only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing? That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive had to do with the defendant's lack of playing had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of playing skill. At least not piano playing. I'll let this photo explain what I mean. As we can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime. Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? That's a crime in and of itself. Indeed, it appears our defendant has fallen to become the basest sort of criminal. Ah, that reminds me. I have a wonderful photo of this game that I took. Okay, so I took my phone at the time, and I took a picture of the screen of my DS, and I cropped it. Because there is one magnificent line in this game that has become increasingly relevant as time has passed. We will see it eventually, and I probably will screenshot it. And or maybe, you know what? If we don't get to it here, because I don't remember exactly where it is, I will find it, send it to my computer, and we will take a look at it next time. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Ooh, that's his voice. Am I gonna change to match that? Objection? No, I don't think I am. I can't be loud here, unfortunately. If I could be loud, I certainly would have put a lot more oomph into those chords of steel. It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. See, now it sounds odd, because I know that his voice is higher now. But I can't really do that. Or at least not confidently. Or consistently. And consistency is the thing that matters most here. Or at least, it kind of does. Yet it was only that. A game, in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor. I feel like I've just changed his voice, but I don't remember. A competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Come again? The cards on the table had blue backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present and impress women. See, Payne, that's where you're wrong. Because, as we all know, Phoenix Wright games are inherently homosexual, and I am all for it. Well, perhaps not Gavin, I suppose. I don't actually know much about his character. He doesn't seem to have any tense moments, from what I remember, with the other characters, for reasons that may become apparent. You know what? It's fine. We'll just move on from that. That will be our first order of business here, then, to find out more about this fatal game of cards. Oh, I think this is the first time we get to see a full view of his hat. Yeah. You know, I definitely would wear that. Very well, defendant. You will testify to the court about the poker competition held the night of the crime. My pleasure. This is it, my first trial. Here goes nothing. I am a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interested customers over the poker table. The room where we play and the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is, a game. And our customers are happy. A pianist who can't play piano. Better than a defense attorney who can't defend. Very well. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Right, Your Honor. My first cross-examination. Don't blow it. Are you alright? You're sweating bullets. Bullets? Where? It's a figure of speech, Justice. Your voice sounds strained and raspy too. Or at least it would if your voice was still in a sorry state. As it was in the passing days, sorry. Even my mind is a bit muddled at the moment. My brain feels strained and raspy, sir. Hey, that's exactly what I just said. You've watched me perform cross-examinations many times, though you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? What to do? Should I ask Mr. Gavin for a refresher in cross-examinations? No! No need for help here, sir. I think I've got this one covered. I think you'd better do one more than think. You know it, or do you do not? I'm fine. The Chords of Steel are ready for battle, even if that previous delivery was terrible. My weapons, press and present. Find any inconsistencies and lies in the testimony and reveal them through the court. That is... No, wait, are they actually making me do... They didn't make me do a abridged version of the tutorial, even though I said no? Come on, game. Inconsistencies? Lies? Phoenix Wright? Metal Gear? As if Phoenix Wright would never lie, and it's up to me to prove it. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Ah, that music's just as I remember it. Quite nice. My voice is starting to get a bit raspy again, though. You know, we won't drink the water. Now let's see. Where do we want to start at? I'd say... Let's press this first. 2 decks of cards, because we only have 1, I think, in the, we actually don't have either in the evidence. Hold it! Oh man, that's the thing that pains me most about this game. In the original, anytime you needed to present or press, you could just say it into the microphone, and it would work. I do not believe that is an option here, and if it is, I will find out about it by the end of this. 2 decks of cards? A simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards. There's something else I noticed. In addition to the cards on the table, there are some lying scattered on the floor. Precisely. Cards on the table, cards upon the floor, each one forming a complete deck. A crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we used 2 types of cards at the club. One deck of cards was red, the other blue. As I recall, in poker you make 5-card hands. You can see how it would be easy to cheat. Heh. Yes, a game of hands. You know, in real life, I actually have a really nice black deck of cards. I don't get to use it much because, you know, it's an open deck, so I can't, and also I don't have people to play with usually. But I really like it. I've had it for quite a few years. Not worn down though, despite the fact that I used to use it to practice shuffling. You know, I imagine we're gonna have to press all of these. So let's do this one next. Hold it! So, you claim you weren't gambling? That's right, it was simply a game. You didn't bet any money? Not even a little? The only thing at stake in our game was pride itself. Oh, well put, Mr. Wright. I've got a mind to play a hand of poker myself. The stakes, your fate. Okay, come on, Judge. That one was just cheesy and out of place. Can we get back to the trial now? Can't imagine Mr. Wright lying in a testimony. Isn't it a little early to be jumping to conclusions? This is your first cross-examination. Take it slow. If you need more information, don't forget to press. Right, I got it. I'm fine. Time to listen to that testimony again. And you know, that does remind me, I've never actually played a proper game of poker. It's been limited to amateurish games and also Luigi in Mario 64. For the DS specifically, in case you were wondering. Yeah, we're gonna have to press all of these. Hold it! You can hardly play? Oh, I play sometimes, when customers demand it. So I play them one song. That's usually all they want. Was that supposed to be a boast just now? The title of pianist is a mask. A respectable face I wear for the world at large. Then why are you really at the Borscht Bowl Club? My real... yeah. They pay you just to play poker? That would seem to be the case. I am a professional after all. Bah! Do I detect pride in that statement? It's just hard for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine. Yes, your imagination was always a bit limited, Winston. What? I've played poker for 7 years in that little room, and I've never lost once. What? You see why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time? As I said, I'm a professional. He's played poker for 7 years and not lost once. Is that even possible? Most certainly, my little naive friend. You just have to not get caught, is all. Final press, here we go. The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction? It has quite a history, actually. The Borscht Bowl Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day. Black market? All in the past. Things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays. Suffice to say that there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right there in that room. A smoky room, gambling hoods. You know, just looking at this picture makes me feel bad. The bosses gather around the table, cutting deals, safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, a goon keeps watch through the small window. I can practically picture it now. That window does look like it would be good for keeping the lookout, but little else. The room had a few other tricks to it, though it was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. This competition you're talking about, I believe the court understands the nature of this game sufficiently. But that's right. It was a simple game after all. That was the wrong ending tone. That was an exclamatory, not a statement. Are you sure? Huh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room the very moment the crime occurred. Did you claim no connection to the crime? Now that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point is against the rules, Your Honor. Of course, I expected to hear a cry of objection from the defense. But, I completely let that one slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right. There's something I'd like to make clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand, and I'd like to hear it from you. Sure, why not? Very well, the defendant will amend his testimony. Just one little press, and I've got myself a whole new testimony. I plead silent in regard to the I plead silent regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon. Are we getting fingerprints this time? Nice. Silence? Yes. You have never heard of it? The Fifth? I mean, I know this game takes place in either Japan or United States, depending on what it feels like at the moment's notice, but come on, man. You've been through law school, haven't you? The defendant has the right to refuse to testify. I haven't forgotten everything about the law. But why? That clearly puts you at a disadvantage. And it's your job to turn that around in our favor, yes? Great. Like I didn't have enough to do already. Justice, didn't you detect anything odd about that testimony? Huh? Wait, something he'd said did ring a little strangely. Just one thing. Now, what was it? You figure it out. I'd suggest presenting evidence. Ah, they snuck another tutorial in. Don't you do this to me, game. Don't handhold me. That's the thing I remembered you not doing. Compared to the others, at least. Let's see. Where are we going to present? Now, obviously, the only thing we can really do is present the bottle. But, oh, what am I saying? Of course, I didn't even read the descriptions. Went through all that evidence, looking through all that trouble looking through all the evidence, and didn't even read the description of the items. Can't believe it. Alright, I guess we do get prints, but not examining prints, just prints in text form. Wrong button. So, you say you didn't touch the murder weapon? This grape juice bottle? Right? So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? Hee. Too bad our new defense attorney never learned how to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see, and it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. Objection! Man, I really wish I could shout here. I mean, I guess I could go stick my face out the window, but I'd have to carry... Actually, I don't think the mic would reach that far. Not to mention, it is pretty late, so I don't think the neighbors would appreciate that. And the animals most certainly would not. Alright. No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I hear you just fine. Excess yelling can damage the judge's ears, and our case. But what about my Chords of Steel? Anyway, what's so strange about fingerprints on a bottle in a restaurant? Well, that's true. The prints alone don't prove it. Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? But the fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down. Upside down? What does that mean? It means he was holding the bottle inverted. And there can only be one reason for that. The classic 3-shot action sequence. Yes, to brain someone with the bottle. Ah! That was a pretty whack face Apollo had there. Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worse, sir. Oh? I see no problem, Justice. Huh? The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything. You'll see. Defendant, can't you explain your fingerprints on the bottle to this court? that was a terrible line delivery. I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now. Not a very cooperative, are you? This could hurt your case. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason. Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it who reported the murder to the police? Reported? Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright, but still, that... Really? Yes, well, according to the case file, the murder was reported from near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone. Near the scene? Let's take a look at the diagram of the murder scene, shall we? The victim was murdered in a small room in a basement 2 floors down from ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. The defendant used the stairs in the hallway to go above ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant. I see. And this phone... This is the phone that made the call? The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he chose. Yet he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. And you claim he is being uncooperative? Nice save, Mr. Gavin. Better not waste this. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being. Toyed? I assure you, no one is more serious about what was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment that the crime occurred. How can you possibly know this? That's a good question. How indeed? The answer is simple, Your Honor. The prosecution has a decisive witness. You're as good as they say you are. So, someone else was in the room that night of the crime. That must mean they witnessed the crime. Come on, Apollo. You're just begging for me to make Metal Gear jokes with using you. Everything up till now has been a warm-up, Justice. Are you ready? Very well. The prosecution may call its first witness to the stand. I'm gonna need to drink water for this one. The witness will state her name and profession. Hold on, just a moment. Where's the witness? I've seemed to have developed cataracts within the past 5 minutes. I surmise that she has been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns. So I use a little hair gel. Relax, people. Have no fear. If any horns point in your direction, this court will cut them off. Okay. How do we want to voice her? This is going to be a difficult one. The girl voices. My ultimate weakness. I recall once that I was specifically told by a child that I cannot do girl voices. It lingers in my mind even now. What do I do? 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 Do I have any way that I can do this? You are sure? No, that's not gonna work. Okay, first of all, I'm just gonna say now. We're abandoning the accent. It's not happening, alright? I definitely could do it if male, but no male. It is female, so I must suffer instead. And so I choose to take the path of least suffering, which is to not do the accent. You know what? How long have we been going? Not even an hour. Well, okay, I wasn't going to end, in case you're wondering. But, next time, I'm probably going to text a speech to her. Or I will practice. That could also happen. It depends on if my schedule's open. Because it could be like today, where it suddenly gets filled without, planning. Let's see. You are sure? I swear it on my gavel. Please come out. I suppose I could also just review this recording. See how well I actually did. Retrospectively. Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honor? Well, if you are sure it is okay. Ahem. Now, the prosecution. Wait a minute. Would the prosecution care to explain the witness's, paraphernalia? Yes. She is a professional, Your Honor. Those are merely the tools of her trade. She really should not be permitted to have these in the courtroom, considering the only time this has happened before is when we had a child, a literal child on the stand that we had to bargain with to comply. But we will just ignore that, pretend it never happened. After all, as it was once said, the legal system in this world is rapidly deteriorating before our eyes. I believe that was in the previous game. Something along that lines were said by Edgeworth upon his arrival. And that would be... My name is Olga Orley. I am employed as waitress in Borscht Bowl Club restaurant. Then, why the camera? Of course, it is my pride to serve borscht that is naming restaurant. But I also perform, how it is said, other service. I take it one of these other services is taking the customer's pictures. Man, she has completely thrown me off my groove here. Let's see if I can get back into it. Like, for example, this one. Very important here. That's the defendant? Indeed, on the night of the murder. The man in white hat is the one who has gone kaput. Indeed, that is the victim. Order, order. This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps. It's the same way I drop cold bowls of borscht on lap of customers. Casually. Then the court will casually accept this new evidence. And it's time to take a look, because we've gotten 2 pieces of evidence, and we have not looked at either. I don't think the phone has anything on it. It has tape on the back. Can I remove it? No, Also, that was some heresy right there from our friend Apollo. Do not replace your phone just because you need 1 piece of tape on it. And let's take our photo. Very important. Necklace present. Bottles on the ground. So you could realistically grab one upside down for passing it to someone. And probably about to head downstairs. Actually, were those bottles grape juice? Yeah, they were. Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room, the hideout, we call it. Excuse me? Oh, and now I've forgotten Apollo's voice. Man, I really am thrown off. Excuse me? The hideout? It is a room where famous gangster bad guy was arrested. It is a room where murder took place. I'm bad guy. You know, I don't think I've laughed at a name joke that dumb since Muppets Most Wanted. How many years ago was that now? I don't know, but here's a little fun fact about me. I really, really like the Muppets. They're great. I wish they were utilized more, because they really do get some good jokes. What? Wait, and there you go. I forgot his voice again. What? Your look of utter surprise. It is lovely. I will post my courtroom door later for you. Well, you know, so as terrible as I'm doing this accent, the fact that she speaks in broken English right now is helping me get through it a little bit. Photos will be numbered, and you will write which one you want a copy of. So, where were 3 people in the room at the... So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Orley, our witness. Oh, that was in the room. I didn't even notice. And if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means... Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about that night's events. That night, customers asked me to deal cards for game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. The victim, he plays whole time with his hands on locket at his neck. Then, last hand is done, but something terrible has happened. That man flew at a victim and is strangling him to death. Well, this is a pretty obvious one. Incidentally, who won the game? Isn't it obvious? The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith. That's ridiculous. Because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice? Maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection. But he hadn't lost in 7 years. Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case my first 7 years as prosecutor either. Incidentally, I have some evidence here. These are the poker chips as they lay at the very moment of the crime. The hand and chips on the side belong to the defendant, Mr. Wright. Those on the far side belonged to the victim, Mr. Smith. Chips, you say? Yes. Imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army. The chips are your spoils. I know that. After all, in my youth, I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3. I think he means poker face. Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness. Here we go. Let's see. Well, I think all of this is pretty important. Okay, let's compare this compared to what evidence we have. First, oh no, oh. All right, first accidental objection. Hopefully that does not happen too much. Okay, let's try this again. Yes. Let's see. Yep, hat on after death. Single blow to the forehead. Hats on. Okay. Deal cards for game. Both played on hats with hats on. Victim plays with hand on him. Okay, I think we should press this one first, probably. Okay, let's start with this, since I think I can just immediately object to this. Yeah, there we go. Oh, really? Strangled, you say? That's odd. No, normal customers only choke on borscht. No, I mean, this report shows the victim died of a blow to the head. Miss Orley, really now? Did you witness the crime? Eee! I'm Spider-Man. Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything. Yet it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during our investigation. Well, that's quite shocking, isn't it? His head certainly was hit. No necklace, head tilting back, blood dripping back. That's the important things here. But I have seen it happen. The defendant, he lunged at the victim, his neck. Oh really, Miss Orley? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Terrible delivery there. Justice, I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me. Very well. It seems we should continue the cross-examination. There's such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking too much, too. Did I Perhaps you have the wrong delivery there? Oh, I certainly did. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too. Man, I'm really out of whack today, eh? Now, let's see. I think I can immediately do this. Yep, there we go. You know, there's one part in her testimony, just one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean? Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is you're thinking so intensely about? Recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand on the locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to the witness's grammar. No, but look at this photograph. Do you see a locket on the victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean? If we are to believe this witness's testimony as is, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off. No. Taken it off. Wait, you don't mean the defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? Defendant, what do you have to say to this? To say? Yes. I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Oh, you mean this? Yes, it's a locket. With a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter. Bum, bum, bum. That's right, Phoenix Wright now has a child. Shocking developments, I know. Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? Let's check how old he is, actually. How old is Phoenix in this game? 33. Okay, that's a reasonable age to have a child. We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture inside the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. So, Mr. Wright has the locket too? Why don't I buy that this is just a coincidence? Well, now, if the results of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear more about the outcome of the game. Further testimony won't really be necessary. It is clear that the defendant lost badly. Miss Orley, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and the defendant. The game began with 3,500 points in chip for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, it was the victim. For the last hand, defendant play with all chips on table and lose. The moment loss was decided, defendant grabs bottle from table and, well, you know. Indeed. Looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. How many times have I heard these words? I done it in a fit of anger, your honor, and now I regret it. A common tale, but true. Methinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. Man, I am naive. Let's see, where do we want to press? Let's see. Let's press here. You're telling me that Mr. Wright, undefeated for 7 whole years, was losing? It must have been most unlucky day for him. I am glad I did not take other picture of him. It would break camera, certainly. The chips, they weren't always to victim's side of table. So, you're telling us it was a one-sided game? Ah, one-sided, and... That's not it. Okay. Here we go. Are the chips in this photo all the chips that were used? Of course. Something's fishy with these chips. Should I press her harder? Yes, of course. Maybe you could explain a bit about these chips. Explain? What is there to be explained? Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips, not a chip off the old block, not a motorcycle cop, not a... Thanks. Now that I've pressed her, I'd better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles even? Yet, as I have been saying before, it was game, not gambling, but perhaps for capitalists to understand. Two types of chip, 100 points chip and 1000 points chip. It is not a money da. Justice. Sir. Don't you find her comment interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony myself. Well, does the defense want the witness to add it to her testimony? Yes. Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to the testimony. I wish I knew where this was going with this. I wish I could deliver my lines properly. Maybe give one more than one take. Very well, witness, if you would be so kind. Your Honor. One kind of chip is worth 100 points, other kind is worth 1,000. Two kinds in all. I believe I should press or present here. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. There we go. You're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure? It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at this picture is enough to tell you who won, if you're not in kindergarten. Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up. The totals? Yes, let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips, and the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points. Yes, if my calculations are correct. Let's see, 3 plus 1, carry 5. They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points, and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up, how much is it? Do it yourself. You aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. But why? How could this be? Exactly. Justice? Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right. There's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. The chip count was... Oh, right. Okay. Both are right. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can be only one answer. Well, what is it? The value of the chips was the other way around. What? Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones. Madness! Utter madness! Show me that photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. Why, that does make 7,000 points when you add them up. Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it, sir. But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing. Indeed. The victim did have the larger number of chips still. Ah! Exactly. Oh, exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, let's do a little math. Add up the points for each side of the table. Ah! Ah! The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points, and the defendant, that was it? Yep, had 4,100 points. Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! My client had even less reason to kill the victim. I feel like I've sort of transitioned Apollo from trying to make him raspy to just fully committing to the anime voice. And we'll rock with it with this stream. And because you know what? By the time we start again, probably tomorrow, maybe the day after, I'm going to have forgotten all this anyway. After all, he was winning. Yeah! Man, I can't really do a quiet scream. I mean, sort of like trying to whisper and yell at the same time. It can be done, but I really need to put my all into it, and I cannot do that right now. Now, Miss Orley, you must have known about the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime, weren't you? Ah, I am Spider-Man once more. Order! Order! It appears our defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust... Excuse me? What is it, Miss Orley? I did not want to be saying this, but... Actually, you see... See what's Miss Orley? What do we see? In the last hand, there was cheat. A cheat? You don't mean... A trick? Wait, or do you mean... A scam? They're all the same thing. Yes, that was a terrible delivery once again. I keep doing that with Apollo. Yes, there was cheat in last hand. That is why game ends with chips as they are. Great, just great. First we have lying, now cheating. What is this, a court of law? A criminal trial? Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. For the interesting. I don't like how I did that. I think Gavin should be less jovial than what I just did. Witness, you'll please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand. In the last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 cards in each hand. Wait, there's 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. The next moment, game becomes argumenta. The defendant's trick was exposed. He took bottle in his hand. Poor Mr. Smith. That was, once again, bad delivery on that last one. Miss Orley, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? I thought I smelled a cover-up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the cupboards. A full house is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make, in my experience. That alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. No, it's not. It's really not. Mr. Gavin, sir? What's a full house? Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker? I can't say this bodes well for your case. Or career. What is this? Some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice. You know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. 2 cards of the same number makes a pair, and 3 makes 3 of a kind. Good. Now picture a hand with 1 pair, and 2 3 of a kind. That's a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? You can see each player's hand in this photo. Wow, they both have full houses. We forget there's an easy way to make a full house and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheats. The defense may cross-examine the witness. If he did cheat in the last hand, that leaves still leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? Well, now that we've made it here, let's go ahead and take a look at that image so we can clarify what's going on here. So we are playing with the blue deck, and as we can see, we have two full houses, both of them using aces. Wait, those aces match up, though. What's not matching up? Other picture, perhaps? Huh. Am I blind or something? I feel as though I'm, like, just not seeing something crucially important in this picture. Okay, we'll take King of Hearts, King of Spades, King of Diamonds, 7 hearts, 7 diamonds, 7 clubs, then Ace of Clubs, Ace of Hearts, Ace of Diamonds, Ace of Spades. What am I not seeing? Where has my mind failed me? That's a 2 of Spades on the floor back there, I think. What is it? Okay, we're gonna press. Since I'm clearly failing somehow, and I have a feeling it's due to my tiredness, considering my eyelids are starting to feel like they're burning. How is it clear? Well, the defendant, he played a 5th ace. A 5th ace? I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. Okay, so I'm not going crazy. I needed to press. Wait. That's different than the image. Alright. And Mr. Wright's, too. Obviously, cheating was afoot, or perhaps I should say, a hand. Your Honor, perhaps this can be added to the testimony, without Mr. Payne's joke. Very well, this witness will add this detail to her testimony, please. I did not see that in the photo. It appears the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? But my name... Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice, perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your fingers to point out your point. Yes, please point out the contradiction in this photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? They've done it again. They've snuck another tutorial in. I cannot believe this. Oh, I can. They're probably going to be doing this whole trial, considering it's the first. Though I must say, it's considerably longer than I recalled. Considerably longer than the first trial in the other games, too. Anyway, over here is a relevant spot. Miss Orley, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces. But as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces. Eek. Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question. Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in hand. 2 aces in his hand. Terrible delivery. Where is this 5th ace? I see cheating alright, and it's going on right here in this courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating, as unlikely as it is. Wait, please. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you. That's odd. She must be lying, and yet she is the most sincere I've seen her all day. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin, sir? Who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards. The cards? Mr. Payne? Yes? The player's hand that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well. The prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? What? The victim's cards or the defendant's cards? If these cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these hands is more suspicious? Let's say the defendant's. Let's start with Mr. Wright's hand. The defense would like to view the defendant's hand. Very well. Mr. Payne, your evidence. Yes, Your Honor. Very well now. Let's see what we have here. Right, sir. Ah, it's another tutorial, I see. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using the stick to turn it. I'm not going to read that. Okay, let's do this. Okay, seems normal to me. Well, has the defense found anything they would like to share with the court? Not unless you count utter confusion. Perhaps you'd best examine the victim's cards next? Of course, you can always give these cards another look. Well, do I examine the other hand of cards? Yes. Guess I'll examine the other... Guess I'll examine the victim's cards. Your Honor, the defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's hand. Granted, but make it quick, Mr. Justice. Don't worry, justice is always swift. What? Your Honor, look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color. Yeah! That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ah! What was that, Miss Orley? No, I mean, I merely said that I have... Your Honor. Mr. Gavin, yes? Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend. A comrade, shall we say. The dealer. Ah! Wait, so you mean... this witness, Miss Orley? She's the cheater. A professional, I'd wager. Yeah! I'm Spider-Man once more. Order! Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. Of her mistake. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard. That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ergo, Miss Olga Orley conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Oh, not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean the defense isn't accusing the witness? Oh, the defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga Orley, are you? Time for justice! There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident. And if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means I am. The defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga Orley, of murder. Eek! I'm no longer Spider-Man. Mr. Payne, where is your witness, Miss Olga Orley? It appears she has lost consciousness, Your Honor. Mr. Justice? Your Honor, it seems you've presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. And that means this court cannot pronounce a verdict of the defendant at this time. What? I did it! I held out. I see no point in prolonging this trial this day. The prosecution will need to make further inquiries. Oh, is that Wright's new voice? Mr. Wright? You can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think. One of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means? What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous! Mr. Payne, you of all people should know. Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. For the ridiculous! That's a better way to do that. And remember, keep the judge goofy. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. Now, for this, I would like to mention, for anyone here, that if you have been paying attention, there have been enough clues so far to reveal who the true murderer is in this trial. Motives are not quite clear yet, and I don't think they will be within this trial. But if you want to know who done it, then you could, take a minute, think about it. You might realize, or maybe you didn't. I suppose it's quite easy for it to slip past. Though I find it to be similar to a Persona 5 deal, where there is like two incredibly obvious lines of dialogue that nearly everyone catches. And, from there, it's just sort of a waiting game. That's what it's been for me, in case you're wondering. Aside from me remembering stuff. As was said before, we alternated between two decks of cards that night. That was said before. The two decks of the club have different colored backs, blue and red. One color per deck. Why use different colored backs? If we use the same color, the two decks might get mixed. You used different colors and they still got mixed up. We used the red deck for the last game. I see. But that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Yeah, me too. Wonder why that is. Maybe it has to do with that hint that I just gave about being able to figure out what happened. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards. Whatever. In the end, one card with the wrong color got into the mix, which means there was cheating. Yes, a card slipped into the deck would seem to indicate cheating, yet this card raises two serious questions. Apollo? Yes? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think, in the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are three broad possibilities here. It could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Well, yeah, thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was swapped... Oh. It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne. Or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When were the cards swapped in the deck? I'm gonna say... after. Perhaps it happened after the murder? What's that? Ridiculous! What's the point of cheating after the cards have been shown? That's silly! Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. Take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible. Oh? Even when the backs of the cards are a different color? If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Ah, quite true. That would mean the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown, after the murder. Okay, this is going past silly and straight into crazy. I ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Why would you do that? Who would do that? Who, indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. There's another? Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. who swapped the red card for a blue card? Who? The game and the murder is done. The victim is dead. Only two remain in the room. Alive, that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga Orley. Okay, so who was it that swapped the red card for blue? Well, it must have been Olga Orley, right? Why, it must have been Olga Orley who swapped the cards. She was trying to cover up evidence of the cheating. That does make some sense. Sorry, but there's a problem with that explanation. Huh? The swapped card was from the wrong deck. Yes, a blue card was stuck into a red hand. Mixing a card from the wrong deck when the backs are different colors? Remember that you're talking about Olga Orley. She was the dealer. Do you really think she would make such a novice mistake? Actually, I have trouble imagining even the judge making that mistake. Give it a little more thought, Apollo. Right. Okay, so who was it that swapped the red card for a blue? Because it must have been someone else. Another person in the room. A fourth person. The one who swapped the cards wasn't Mr. Wright, of course. And, well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga Orley either. But who could have been the fourth person? Who said they were present during the murder? What are you suggesting? That's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As the defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss Orley at this point. Yes, I know, but she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong color card. And if the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking of how much fun all this is. Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant and it wasn't Miss Orley, then who was it? Yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that, indeed, after the murder, someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand, and that someone made two critical mistakes. I am sure you're going to tell us that the first was swapping the wrong color card, because the one who did swap didn't know two colors of cards were being used. Have I slipped into giving Phoenix and Gavin the same voice? I think I have. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right. The person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house. So they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. That time, I think I swapped Apollo, or merged Apollo and Phoenix's voice. But there's one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. True. Not until now. But you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Though it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. What? I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial has proceeded on one central assumption, namely that at the time of the incident there were only 3 people in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. The problem is that you chose to conceal this information to the court. Oh, bad delivery at the end there. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well, the trial will resume in 20 minutes. Or in our case, in about 24 to 48 hours, because that is where we are ending things for the day. Look at that. We got quite far. Man, that was pretty good. I am proud of how much I was able to talk today. And you know what? I went through all that trouble to make this little starting screen and this little break time screen. I didn't make an ending screen. So I guess we're ending here for the day. Just staring at the courtroom. Same one we've been staring at for, what? Ever since the DS remakes came out? Well, I suppose you can consider the Game Boy Advance games to be the same courtroom, but, you know, different graphics then. Never had a Game Boy Advance myself. A friend did. But he didn't have Phoenix Wright. I don't think I'd have been interested in this back then anyway. My appreciation of visual novels is something that happened in the last 5 years, I want to say. Yeah, that seems about right. Actually, what year? Oh, no. It's 2024. Oh, no. Past 7 years. Oh, man, I feel old. Well, you know what? We can put that aside for now. Oh, God. Oh, God, I am old. Oh, I haven't felt this bad about myself since I booted up Pokemon Platinum and saw the copyright date at the start. Oh, okay. I'm distraught and distressed, and quite frankly, I need to. We need to stop. I need to stop. So thank you for tuning in. This is the Seeker Scuffed. I'm signing off. I need to calm down.